Good morning.
Yung laptop na niya. Laptop. Yeah. Right.
What's up there, Bobby?
Okay. Okay.
Morning, Rob.
How are you?
All right.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay.
We're gonna wait a minute for everybody to get on. Who's getting on? Anybody have any good successes this weekend, or was everybody down for the holiday?
It was a quiet weekend, but we did go under contract on a listing that's been sitting for a little bit.
Great. How about you, Bobby?
I made a deal on Mother's Day.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And a sale with the buyer to boot, which is very rare.
So you work the buy side?
Correct.
And was that somebody who was selling with you, or just a lucky customer?
Lucky customer.
Very good. So I think saying that we're going to talk about, scripts and role playing is like telling people we're going to eat spinach and broccoli. Nobody's showing up. What do you think, Chopper?
Should have kept it a secret.
Maybe they're hungover for Mother's Day.
Hungover? What kind of Mother's Day did you celebrate?
Oh, I had a bunch of Colombians in.
Fun.
I let them. They were hitting the wine from the elite retreat from Napa. They had a good time.
So I feel like I've been crying wolf, and this Thursday I'm looking for volunteers to start with the role playing sessions, and then roll them out after the mastermind on Friday. So that's the game plan I have right now. Now, do any of your teams have like regularly scheduled role plays?
Yes. We didn't used to, but you recommended it last time you and I met, and we've been doing at least once a month role playing.
So I was just doing a little bit of prep for this. Let me just see if I can share my screen in a second. No, I literally closed all my tabs. I put them onto a spreadsheet, and now I'm up to like 40 tabs already. Need to have some therapy. So, all right. So this one is really eye-opening, but the clients will believe you when you believe you, right? And I think that goes for your team members when they're like saying stuff with being tentative because they're not certain of it. Knowledge and prep equals confidence. Ignorance and lack of prep or discipline equals fear, which becomes failure or the nose. I've never been a big role player, so I'm just saying this from some research and talking to people that do it. But your first couple of calls every session are not your best usually. That's why role playing helps to warm up. If we want to be successful, we really need to kind of recommit to it and double down. We need to be intense. We don't need to go through the motions when we do it. And this is compliments of the old man Mike Ferry and Tony Smith. Less than 3% of workers earn 250,000 or more. Average commission, ours is probably 10 or more if we're doing FSBOs and expires. We're probably going to areas that we want to be in. So not knowing what we're doing can be rather expensive and very challenging to a career. This is the 3 levels from Keeping Current Matters. It's kind of some people know what's going on, some understand, and some can teach it. I think, most people don't even memorize the script, so then get past that first level. The second level is to internalize it, right, where you don't have to think about what you're saying. Then the third level is where you really know it and you understand why you're saying it, not just saying it because you memorized it, then you can say it forward and backwards. Like those are the 3 things that we need to strive to get to. And if we're not striving for the third, why even bother, right? Like if you have to think about what you're going to say, Lynn, you think you're going to win, especially on a call? There's no way, right?
No.
A lot of the well-disciplined, successful people, they is that you near in there walking?
Yeah, it's me. I'll be ready in a couple seconds.
Yeah, give me another 2 minutes and I want you to share your story.
Sure.
Role playing propels you into the calling session, and also it even gets you present to be there, right? Because how often do you think your team members and maybe even yourself, are a little bit behind schedule because you don't have an appointment or a commitment? right? Tony Smith says, from Mike Ferry, do you think somebody before a championship fight is just doing high fives and joking around before they get out there, or do you think they're really sparring with somebody good to get warmed up? I would say it's the latter, right? Record yourself and listen to your calls, even record the way you stand and the way you look, because if you don't look confident, you're probably not. Learn and internalize this is the 7 scripts according to Mike Ferry, and many of them are 3, 4, 5 questions, so they shouldn't be too difficult. Know your numbers and learn, understand, and measure. So those are some of the things. Now, this young man here, Niran, who's on the phone, I don't know if you can talk now, Niran, or not.
I can. I'm in my car. I'm calmed down and settled.
So, Niran, what did you say about Vulcan 7 earlier, unprovoked?
I don't want to be shooting myself in the foot here, but I did say Vulcan 7 has a tremendous amount of value. Anybody who's, to Rob's point, you have to practice, you have to get better, you have to want to improve. But anyone who's putting in the effort on Vulcan 7, it's producing listings for me. The listings that I have are from Vulcan 7. Rob and I are going on listing appointments. There isn't a single day that I call for 2 hours where I do not generate at least one solid opportunity for a follow-up, if not setting an actual appointment on the spot. And these are people who are actively ready to sell right now. And it's our job to break down that barrier of whatever shitty past experience they had with an agent, or find out, why the house was removed, why it expired, why it's withdrawn. It's our job to know how to Rob's point, you can't think about what you're going to say on the spot, because then you're going to look like a deer in the headlights. But if you know how to handle yourself when these objections and certain statements start getting thrown at you, and you respond on the fly, almost every time I'm coming out of there with a really good follow-up, or at least setting an appointment. But there is gold in there.
And, you're very persistent. You've invited me to many listing appointments, and a lot of times I was in Florida, Arizona, R4, and I felt like crap, but you persisted, and we finally got to have 2 of them, right?
Yes.
And they were both, I was ready to close them on the spot, but neither of them were ready to make a decision, or made a decision for 3 weeks to, what was it? John was 2 months almost?
I'd say John was probably around 4 to 5 weeks.
About 5 weeks later.
Right.
And both of them were shopping us, made that known, correct?
Correct.
Especially John.
Especially John. The first conversation I ever had with John, that's a $1.5 million listing that's going live in 2 weeks in Basking Ridge. The first conversation I ever had with John was him telling me that they are going to sell, but he already had an agent. So that's where learning how to say what you're going to say before you say it, and working on the fly comes into play, because, it was up to me to either say, oh, thanks, sorry for disturbing you, and hang up the phone, or to say, well, listen, if you have some time, I'd like to sit down with you and show you what I think we can get done for you. It's always a good idea to hear other people's opinions at the very least. There's no obligation, and if you decide to stay with the agent that you're with, that's perfectly fine, and I wish you the best and hope they get it done for you. I'm sure you're in good hands. But if you're open to it and you wouldn't be heavily opposed to it, I'd love to sit down with you and have a conversation about what else is out there. Just so at the very least, at the end of the day, you feel like you've gone through the motions, you've exhausted every avenue in terms of your research of agents, and you feel good with your decision. And that's when he said, actually, you know what? Let me check my schedule. Can you come and take a look at the house and let me know what you think?
And then both pricing wise, where did he land on the 3 strategies that we presented him?
We're doing auction style. So we think the house can sell for about 7% over 1.5 million. And we are listing at 1,499.
And then how did you structure the compensation to you and the other agent? What was
So
those expectations?
yeah, I told him he asked me twice. He asked us on the spot, and Rob's answer was a little bit more vague. It was like, well, listen, we charge a certain amount, and then you can decide whether you want to pay another agent or not, but it's always beneficial to. And then after we left that appointment, he asked me to send him another write-up with all my services, everything that I'm going to do, and what my compensation structure would be. And I held firm and I said, listen, I charge a 2.5%. I wanted to go 3, but I just went a little bit more fair because I wanted to win it. I didn't really want to jeopardize it. But I said, listen, I charge a 2.5% commission for the services that I offer. That's the value of the skills and knowledge that I possess. And it's totally up to you if you want to compensate another agent. And I suggest that you do, so your home receives the proper exposure and it incentivizes people to show and see your home. And the way it worked out was he is going to pay both sides 2.5% if I can formulate a contract from a buyer within the first month. And if it takes longer than 1 month, both sides drop down to 2%, but still willing to pay the compensation even after 1 month to both sides.
Well, Niren, congratulations and thanks for making some time.
Of course.
Last question for you is, are you actively role playing now, or did you do it when you were part of the Rise Properties team? Can you just share that with us?
So I am still actively role playing. I did used to do a lot more of it when I was part of the Rise Properties team, but now that I'm doing my own little thing, it's a little bit more on me. When I get to the point of scaling my team a little bit more, that will be and always will be a mandatory thing every single day before the day starts for me and all my agents. That is so paramount. But the way that I do it right now is I have 2 buddies, young guys like me, we're hustlers. We have a Zoom link set up every day. I have calling blocks on Vulcan from 10 a.m. to 12 o'clock. So we have a Zoom link set up from that time frame. I open up the link, and it's one of my buddies who's at Sotheby's and one of my buddies who's a big agent in Hoboken at Weichert. And we hop on the call, we leave our mics open, we leave our cameras on, and we start making calls together. Anytime one of us gets on the phone with someone, we're all listening. We give each other feedback, we listen, we pay attention, and we'll do a little bit of role playing before we even get into it, just to, warm things up a little bit. But other than that, we're listening to everyone's conversations and providing feedback, and also, having our own conversations and keeping an open forum.
And what's your consistency rate? Are you doing that 3-4 days a week, 5 days a week, or is it scheduled 3? Give me a little insight there.
So I am currently actually scheduled for 3 mornings a week on Vulcan, and then every day in the evening from 3 to 6. I was very, very good about it about a month ago. I will not lie. About a month ago, I was way better about it, and I was calling every single day. Since then, Vulcan has actually produced results for me. So since then, I've been a little bit busy and I've fallen off a little bit, but that's on me. I should be structuring my time better and time blocking better. And I'm calling every single day, both in the evenings and the mornings. And sometimes I'll just call throughout the entire day, honestly, because like I said to other people. So call me a hog, but if it's there and nobody's utilizing it and it provides me tremendous value, I'm just going to keep doing that.
And Niren, for the client, John, that you got, now what was he, an engineer or he was something mathematical, right?
Yeah, I believe he was a former engineer, but now
he's a professor, right? He teaches.
Yeah, now he's a math professor.
And I want to just commend you, because I think you haven't done a whole lot personally in Basking Ridge, or have you?
No, this is my first and only listing so far in Basking Ridge.
And it's not even in the same county, right?
Nope.
And, you know, I think he also was biased when we met with him to list with the person that I guess sold him the house and that he had listed when he withdrew it, right?
Yeah. I didn't know if that's something I necessarily should have gotten into or not, but this fella, he's an Asian fellow. So, you know, he's got his own community. He's got the people that he's comfortable with. And, you know, his previous agent was somebody who was of his own background, and obviously probably felt a little bit more comfortable with them. But, you know, Rob and I went there and we spoke straightforward facts and intelligence, and it resonated with him and he trusts us. So I think it goes a pretty long way when you're pulling somebody away from something that they're really comfortable with. Like, I almost expected him to follow up, to just still end up with his other agent,
And Niren,
just because of a comfort thing.
and just to be clear with everybody, I think we probably have set 4 or 5 appointments, and you know, 1 or 2 of them rescheduled for different days, which is annoying. And one of them I wasn't able to go on, and it's a grind, isn't it?
It is. It certainly is. And if I was better about it, I'd probably have 3 or 4 more listings right now. And that's not, and that's probably a conservative number too.
And just to be clear, like if that sells for ask price, which it's going to sell for more, that's almost $38,000, and that can be in excess of 40 grand commission to you, right?
It sure could.
And there's no reason why you couldn't do one of those a month, in my humble estimation, if you stayed on point. I don't know how many you are doing, but I think that's easy peasy. And he was getting calls from everybody. He was not a slam dunk. You know, Niren was an underdog because, you know, he was still considering the person that sold him the house, which was, he's Chinese, right?
Yes.
So his agent was Chinese. So I think we had a lot going against us. We weren't in the marketplace. His agent was more local than we were. And
Right.
it was about the follow-up. It was about the handwritten thank you note. It was about the persistence. It was about not freaking out when he put us on hold for 5 weeks, right?
Yeah, pretty much. He even commented on our enthusiasm. And I mean, listen, persistence wins. It will win every single time. I mean, you can't terrorize these people, but you can call them every single week. You can send them multiple texts. He didn't text me back until he was ready to text me back, but there was probably 5 unanswered texts from me trying out different little phrases here and there, tweaking things, a different kind of psychological strategy here, a different strategy there. And then he finally responded, and that's when I set that appointment. But it took a while for him to be ready, but it is in the persistence. So you talk to these people on Vulcan, you have a great conversation. What's your next step? My next step is immediately emailing it to myself, putting it in a folder in my Gmail that says Vulcan 7 follow-ups. I email it to myself. I write down the notes. You have to pay attention. When these people talk, you have to pay attention. So I write down the notes, and the next time I talk to them, oh, how's Sally doing? Is her hip healed or whatever it is? Take down notes, and then I add a Google Calendar invite for myself to follow up with that person, and I make it recurring weekly, and I do not take that invite off of my calendar until that person says no, or, you know, something tragic happens and they're no longer selling or whatever it is. Like, I will get an answer before I remove that follow-up invite off of my calendar. And then
just
when
FYI, you have a Remax sign that's reflecting into the sky on your skylight. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know how we do. Represent, baby.
Well, anyway, I appreciate you hopping on, and I'm glad to see that you're both committing to your physical and business health. You're at the gym early. That's not the Niren that I knew a few years ago, who kind of fell off the wagon. So congrats, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And for everybody else on the call, you know, when I'm in Florida, or if you want to hit me up, you know, I'm always game to go on a listing appointment. I think one thing you notice, and Niren, you might notice, is like my listing appointments, like it's like theater, right? I go in there and I kind of control the process, let them think they are, but kind of run the same game plan every time, right? You know, maybe you can't hear me now, but anyway, so I
Oh yeah, for sure. Do that. Certain things that you do, certain things that you say that like lead them in a particular direction. It's very subtle. It's very subtle, but it leads them towards the close. An example of it, a little bit more less subtle of an example of it would be like, so when you want to have the first open house. I mean, the story that you told me about that appointment you went on where you were like, all right, so, you know, do you have a key? And then she handed you a key to the house. That's the most extreme example of it, but it's stuff along those lines that are just like these subtle little hints and strategies taking them to that place.
Yeah, and that was Joe Garcia, another cold calling appointment, Niren. And the funny part was the both decision makers were there. I do so much better when both decision makers are there. The one we
Sure.
did not get, the husband wasn't there. He was in Texas with a daughter that had a medical issue. So I
Right.
believe we probably would have had a better shot if both decision makers were there. But Niren did call me and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we can defer it or we can go." And I said, "Let's roll." And the one you're referring to with Joe Garcia, the husband was an attorney, and if you were to have recorded it, it would have been so perfect because the husband goes, Marcia, are you giving them the listing? She goes, well, I guess I am. That was exactly how it went down, and we didn't even talk about commission. Like we
That's
just talked
amazing.
about selling the house, right? She put it on this little thing you could put on your wrist. I'm like, hey, buddy, I have the key.
That's awesome. That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so these are the things that I really want to contribute, and I think that they can supplement all the great talent that everybody on this call has as a team leader. Um, you know, like Bobby G, Lynn, Chopper, Glenn, Paul. You all have tremendous skills. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be where you are. And I'm offering myself to go out there and help. I'm not trying to undermine or contradict. I'm just giving you another playbook that you can execute and find your own voice. So
Yeah, we
anyway,
appreciate it.
is anybody want to work with me on the first two tests on Thursday and Friday? Anybody have team members that would like to be on a role play, and I'll circle back with you individually? Maybe I was hoping a little more attendance and get at least two team leaders to guide me in what I can do better.
Rob,
I
I'll try
have,
to tell you the truth. I'm going to be away, so I'll try to get somebody from the office to jump in.
Okay.
I have my team meeting today. If you give me the time again, I'll write it down and see if anybody can join.
So what do you think? What do you think the best time is? I'm thinking
Not
8
11.
o'clock. I'm
Yeah,
thinking 8.
early. The Friday meetings at 11 are hard for us, so earlier is better.
So maybe how long, Niren, for a role play? Half an hour?
Yeah, I would say
on?
so. I would say so. At least 30 minutes is probably appropriate.
So let's do 8 to 8:30 on Thursday and Friday. And what we're going to do is we'll do role playing. Then I'll get the scripts out to you for everybody to start to memorize the soft scripts.
And you don't care how many join, so if anybody's
more-
available, they can join.
The more the merrier,
Okay.
right? And if people say, here's a little secret: if people say they're going, just remind them on the morning, hey, look forward to seeing you there. So they're like, shit, Lynn's watching.
Yes, she is.
Hey Rob, on the scripting front. So when I was out in Utah, I hit this company that they're connecting to Lofty and to my dialer for Mojo, and they listen in real time and give the agent feedback on their call, inflection, tone, whether they're talking too much. It literally grades them so they can see on their screen while they're on the call, and then it advises them on next steps, like you're not listening enough, you're not addressing their concerns. So the system does this, but it also ranks it against all the other agents in my office. So it uses AI in the background, but we're going to begin testing it next week. And I'm pretty psyched because it's no longer me saying do this. It's a system that's comparing them to everyone else. So it's like the expert next door. But it's wild. It's real time. And I've done testing on it and it's insanely good.
I wonder if it can grade the role play.
It does. So it has well, they call it test on us, not on your client or your future client. So you can actually talk back and forth with the AI and it will train you what to say. And it's also based on the repository of what our people say. So it's literally role play training without having to have people.
All right, who wants to nominate Glenn to be a test pilot for the case on Thursday and Friday? Me? Are you available to donate 8 to 8:30 on Thursday and Friday to help us get started, Glenn?
As long as we wrap by 8:30, because I have my team call at that time.
Yeah, we're gonna try to be very respectful of the time limit, so.
Yeah, I'm in. But yeah, I thought, Rob, that this was, so I just, my issue always is right, when you come over and say, hey, I would say it this way, sometimes people take a little bit of offense to it, no matter how much trust they have in you. But now they're actually grading the call real time, and it gives them a dashboard to say, you didn't listen enough. They stated a concern. You didn't address the concern. You can't trick it, right? And I don't have the ability to sit there and listen. I don't have the time to listen to phone calls. So I would rather look at it on the dashboard front.
And I did try that, Glenn. I had people for $3 an hour trying to listen for, and then I would have to grade their grading. It was insane. This was during the heart of the pandemic when I had more time on my hands, and it was just mind numbing.
Yeah,
So this is both phenomenal, more consistent. It's just amazing. This is like a perfect use of AI. And by the way, are you doing the AI starting next week or this week?
it's tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 10:30.
So if you are not on tomorrow at 10 o'clock till 10:30, you're crazy. All right. I have a 9 o'clock I got to pop on, but if anybody else wants, I got Bobby, Lynn, and Glenn. I'll see you. Or actually, I'll circle back with you. Sandy, one second. I'll circle back with you to coordinate our Thursday and Friday sessions. All right.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good week, everybody.
Take
Bye-bye.
care,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.